Welcome my friends to Short Movie Channel. Our movie today begins during World War II, specifically in northern France, after the region fell under the control of the German Nazi army. We see a train packed with men and women who are prisoners and detainees, being transported to Nazi prisons and camps under the leadership of General Adolf Hitler. Everyone is terrified and anxious, awaiting their unknown fate. When the train arrives, the prisoners are quickly forced off and ordered to remain silent. Suddenly, a group of French resistance fighters appears, attacking the German forces and throwing explosive grenades. A fierce battle ensues, with intense gunfire and chaos, turning the area into a massive battlefield within seconds. Amidst the turmoil, a French girl named Brienne emerges. She's incredibly skilled in combat, wielding two swords with remarkable agility and precision. She swiftly takes down the German soldiers. The German commander, Jacob, tries to hide in one of the train cars, but Brienne spots him and goes after him. As Brienne is about to kill him, a German soldier shoots her in the back. However, she quickly turns and kills him before finishing off Jacob as well. Upon leaving the train, she is confronted by the French resistance members, who hold her at gunpoint, revealing that she isn't one of them. Their leader, Nathiel, expresses his amazement at Brienne, saying, "I've never seen anyone move like the wind and kill with such speed and skill." Nathiel then informs the group that the train is supposed to be loaded with weapons, and they need to move quickly. However, upon searching the rest of the train, they find no weapons, only men and women who are prisoners. Brienne tells Nathiel, "Let's move quickly. There are other camps nearby." They all head toward the forest, where Brienne shares her story, revealing that she is half human and half vampire. In a surprising twist, it is revealed that Commander Jacob is still alive. Apparently, drops of Brienne's blood had entered his mouth, turning him into a vampire. That night, the German army arrives at the battle site, shocked by the devastation they find. Meanwhile, Brienne is talking with Nathiel, who seems to already know about her being a vampire. The film then takes us to a Nazi camp known as the Third Reich, where we meet a doctor named Wolf, conducting horrifying experiments on vampires in his lab. Colonel Casper enters the lab and talks with Wolf. Casper is visibly upset by the doctor's work and leaves in frustration, but Wolf follows him. From their conversation, we learn that Wolf is trying to discover a way to harness the powers and strength of vampires. His goal is to make the Nazi Germans invincible, ruling the world from east to west, north to south. According to his plan, the Nazis would become immortal, ensuring their domination forever. Adolf Hitler himself would transform into an eternal and immortal leader of the earth. Casper tells Wolf to prepare, as there's been an incident that requires his immediate attention. The next morning, we see Brienne standing on the rooftop of a building. Her facial expressions show that she feels uneasy, as if something strange is happening to her. At the same time, Dr. Wolf examines the condition of the German commander, Jacob, and informs Colonel Casper that Jacob has fully turned into a vampire. He advises Casper to either chain him up or decapitate him to eliminate the threat. After giving his advice, Wolf leaves. Casper, however, reflects on the fact that the attack on the train and Commander Jacob happened in broad daylight, at the height of noon. This revelation shocks Wolf. Meanwhile, Brienne appears again, standing on the rooftop, observing the German soldiers. She places her swords aside briefly and then returns to monitor the situation. The story then takes us back to Casper and Wolf, who are puzzled about how a vampire could appear in daylight, fight, kill, and then disappear without any harm. Vampires are known for being unable to survive in sunlight. They proceed to the room where Commander Jacob, now fully transformed into a vampire, is being held. Jacob attacks Casper and grabs Wolf, who tries to reason with him, saying, "I can help you." At the same time, the story shifts back to Brienne, who is getting a massage in another location. Suddenly, she hears someone calling for help. She quickly gets dressed and goes to check the source of the noise. She finds a German soldier torturing and beating a young woman. Brienne immediately attacks the soldier, fiercely punishing him for his actions. It is revealed that this place is one of the houses in the northern region. The owner of the house asks Brienne not to cause any trouble, but Brian angrily insults her and leaves. Meanwhile, Casper and Wolf are in a meeting with Commander Jacob, who asks for their help. Wolf warns Casper not to take any action without consulting him first, and Casper agrees. Brian returns to continue her massage session, but the gypsy girl present outside the room appears to be eavesdropping. The gypsy girl quickly puts on her clothes and rushes to meet the German commander, Jacob. She leads Wolf to meet with Jacob and informs him about Brian's actions, especially her attack on the German soldier. She confidently claims that Brian is the same woman who attacked the train the day before, the one everyone has been talking about. Commander Jacob thanks her for this valuable information and embraces her, only to suddenly attack her and drain her blood as an act of vengeance. The scene then shifts to German soldiers attacking the house where Brian is hiding. She fights them ferociously with her extraordinary powers, killing many of them. As she tries to escape by jumping from the balcony, she finds Commander Jacob and his soldiers waiting for her, surrounding the entire area. Using her superhuman abilities, Brian manages to leap to the top of another building. The soldiers open fire on her, but Commander Jacob angrily orders them to stop, shouting, "I want her alive, not dead!" However, Brian has already been severely injured, losing a significant amount of blood on the ground. Dr. Wolf collects some of her spilled blood, hinting at the continuation of the story in a new direction. In the next scene, the gypsy girl who had her blood sucked by Commander Jacob regains consciousness and comes back to life. Of course, she has turned into a vampire. Dr. Wolf is extremely surprised by how quickly she transformed. He sprays her with holy water, but she's unaffected. He tells her, "This means that vampires have developed their abilities. Just yesterday, I wouldn't have believed that a vampire could walk in daylight under the sun, but it seems like the world around us is changing, and evolution has become a real possibility." After that, the doctor enters the cage where the gypsy girl is held, and she attacks him. He pushes her away with force and sprays her again with more holy water. Then, he drives a wooden stake into her chest, causing her to scream and collapse to the ground. Commander Jacob watches everything unfold and tells the doctor, "Come here. I need to talk to you about something very important." At the same time, Brian goes back to Nathan and asks him for dynamite and explosives because she wants to eliminate Jacob completely. Nathan argues with her and stops her, saying, "This will put your life, and all of our lives, in danger. Jacob isn't just an ordinary vampire anymore. He's a vampire with an entire army armed to the teeth with every kind of weapon." The film then takes us to a girl named Magda, who is seen at a private gathering with two German officers. Suddenly, she shoots one of them, killing him, and holds the other at gunpoint. At that moment, Nathan and Brian enter the scene. We discover that Magda is part of the French resistance, and a member of Nathan's team. Magda hands Nathan a paper and says, "We need you to tell us everything you know about these symbols." Brian excuses herself and leaves. Nathan bids her farewell, saying, "I'll see you again soon." On her way out, Brian is confronted by a young man and woman who are vampires wielding swords. However, she quickly overpowers them, killing them in moments, then leaves their bodies lying on the ground and continues on her way. That night, while she's asleep, Brian dreams that Hitler himself attacks her, beats her, and sucks her blood. She wakes up in terror, screaming. At the same time, Commander Jacob pays a visit to Lieutenant Casper at his house. While they're talking, Jacob suddenly attacks Casper, biting him and drinking his blood, turning him into a vampire. A little later, Dr. Wolf arrives. Jacob takes a vial of Brian's blood, lets Casper smell it, and tells him, "I want you to find out where she is tonight and track her down." The film then takes us to a meeting between Brian, Nathan, and one of their allies, where they discuss their plans to confront the Germans. Suddenly, Casper shows up, and a fierce battle breaks out. Eventually, Nathan strikes Casper multiple times with a metal rod, knocking him to the ground, covered in his own blood. Brian asks him, "Who are you?" Casper replies, "I'm Colonel Casper, Commander Jacob's assistant and right hand. He turned me into a vampire so I could get to you." He also reveals that he had already reached Magda before coming here. Nathan becomes furious, fearing that Magda, their friend, might be tortured into revealing everything they know. Brian then drives a wooden stake into Casper's chest, killing him instantly. In the final scene, Brian, Nathan, and the rest of the resistance team launch a fierce attack on the German forces, trying to rescue Magda before she is captured. In the following scene, we see that 2 German soldiers have captured Magda and taken her with them, while Brian and the others are in pursuit. The next morning, Magda is shown tied up and restrained in a certain place. Commander Jacob arrives, bites her, and drinks her blood, turning her into a vampire as well. Meanwhile, Brian prepares herself to eliminate Commander Jacob and his followers. She heads to the train station, where Commander Jacob is supposed to board the train. She starts taking out the soldiers with her weapon in a single strike in the blink of an eye. The rest of the French resistance joins her. They all enter the station, head downstairs via wooden stairs, and find Magda tied up. However, she has already turned into a vampire. Left with no choice, Brian ends her life by driving a wooden stake through her heart, killing her instantly. At this moment, Commander Jacob's soldiers, who have also turned into vampires, attack the resistance team. But Brian and the others fight back, eliminating them all. Commander Jacob appears, accompanied by Dr. Wolf and a large group of German soldiers. Commander Jacob attacks Brian from behind, causing her to fall to the ground. He kills the wounded and captures Brian and Thal. Later we see Thal in a cage where Commander Jacob tells him, "I've decided to take you with me to Berlin, where your journey will end." Meanwhile, Brian is restrained elsewhere, and Dr. Wolf tells her, "I've spent an hour drawing blood from you, yet your blood regenerates incredibly fast. You are the true scientific discovery I've dreamed of for years." Commander Jacob enters the room, dismisses Dr. Wolf, and violently attacks Brian, drinking her blood. He then orders Dr. Wolf to prepare for the journey. Dr. Wolf tells her, "The time has finally come for you to meet Hitler." The film then shifts to a scene of vehicles traveling through the snow, with Thal in one vehicle alongside Brian. Along the way, we see Fassel and a small group of survivors planting bombs and explosives, preparing for their arrival. When the German vehicles approach, a massive explosion occurs, followed by a fierce exchange of gunfire. Brian breaks the car door, jumps out with Thal, and the area transforms into a massive battlefield. Commander Jacob steps out of the vehicle holding a vial containing Brian's blood. He drinks from it, while Dr. Wolf flees, saying, "See you in Berlin?" During the fight, Fassel is shot and falls to the ground. Thal manages to kill a large number of German soldiers with gunfire. Meanwhile, Brian also takes down a significant number of enemies. A young woman from the resistance spots Dr. Wolf trying to escape, shoots him, and kills him. Commander Jacob confronts Thal and throws him aside. When Brian attacks him, he hits her hard as well. However, she refuses to give up, stands up again, and strikes him with a stone, crushing his skull and killing him for good. In the end, Brian and Thal check on Fassel, who reassures them, "Don't worry about me, I'll be fine, it's just a minor injury." Thal tells Brian finally it's all over. But Brian replies, "No, this is just the beginning. We have a long road ahead of us to finish this." They then take a large truck and drive away. And with that, Commander Jacob is eliminated, marking the end of our film. We hope you enjoyed this story. Don't forget to support us with a like and a subscription to the channel.